Iroh fails. That is a move that was sparsely ever made in Hollywood films, especially those targeting children. But it's also exactly what makes Empire Strikes Back stand out so well against the rest of the Star Wars original trilogy. And, let's face it, just other films from the time. But is that the only reason this film is so distinct from its brethren? Today we find out on this episode of The Return of the Movie.
All right, everyone, and welcome back to The Return of the Movie, the podcast where we talk about sequels, reboots, franchises, and more. Today, I am joined once again with Cali and a new guest, Iroh. We have a full little panel today, and we're just going to be jumping right in. So, real quick, Cali, Iroh, can I ask you guys how you know each other?
So, for those of you who don't know, I am in a long-term committed relationship, and this is my partner.
I've been kidnapped.
I've held him hostage for years.
Iroh is being forced to come here. Yes, it is against his will. He does stay in the back of the basement over behind camera. He is not allowed to eat. Now, Iroh, on the other hand, we brought you in because you have just a different relationship to Star Wars than Cali and I. So, obviously, we're talking about episode 5 today, but tell us in general, like, what does Star Wars mean to you? Like, where are you coming from for this?
For me, Star Wars has always been a really big deal. I ran into it, I'm going to say, in the 90s. I'm the oldest one in this room, by the way. My sister's boyfriend at the time, he basically was like, oh, I have these movies. And I started watching them from A New Hope to Return of the Jedi. And it was just watching the hero's journey at that age is very impressionable. And I love the way Luke kept a positive mindset, and it's something I've always tried to maintain. You know, I live my life by those kind of virtues even to this day, you know, trying to see the best in people, trying to keep it positive, show compassion. So I kind of had Star Wars to thank for a moral compass at some points.
First off, before we jump into this, because this movie just has such a darker tone, but I couldn't help but noticing while watching it that this movie felt way less like science fiction and far more like fantasy.
Yeah.
Like, it should all be fresh to us at this point, but like just watching this film, and I don't know if the darker tone is more attached to the fantasy aspects in this, or if it's just the liberties that were taken by the director.
That's an excellent point that you're making, because what comes to mind immediately for me is Luke going to the Dagobah system.
Yes.
And when he lands in the swamp, it reminded me so much of just like Jim Henson.
Jim Henson has such an involvement in all of these movies. Specifically, the further we get into the original trilogy, I feel like you just see more Henson puppets and creatures popping up here everywhere. The more fantasy aspect of it, I felt like it wasn't just that. It's also this movie felt like it was breaking the laws of physics more than other Star Wars films.
Mm-hmm.
I'm immediately thinking about when they are in the when they're just kind of in the vacuum of space with nothing on except a gas mask.
Right.
Yeah, there's the vacuum of space. It should be freezing, but I think this one did break the laws of physics much more. It really made you suspend your idea of reality. But back then, I think they didn't really consider these things.
I'm with you. I feel like it wasn't until Star Trek really started taking over that people started being like, well, you should be more scientific about what you're doing in science fiction. Where, the line between fantasy and sci-fi has always been, very thin.
I think when you approach Star Wars, you kind of have to just accept it for what it is. There's a lot of arguments in the fandoms where we'll be like, oh, well, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense. And it's just this guy literally shoots lightning from his hands. We're fighting with light swords. It's okay.
I feel like we need to just accept the fact that Star Wars isn't in our universe, doesn't have the same laws of physics, then just label it fantasy and call it a day, and then all these problems go away.
Let's have a good time.
Exactly.
It's a fun ride.
Speaking of not having a fun ride, so this movie's, again, tonally just very different from everything else in the original trilogy. The entire thing kind of exist within a larger chase sequence. We're on the run the entire movie, with the exception of just when we are on Hoth.
Yes.
Hoth is really the only calm in what's otherwise just a really just crazy storm.
And that's
everything's happening.
saying something, because even on Hoth, if I'm not mistaken, this is like the first time we get to see some real kind of gore happening.
Yes! As a kid, like the opening to this movie, horrifying.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I was scared of that. I forget what the monster's called. You find them in the
Snowman?
Yeah,
thing?
yeah.
The Yeti
I call him a
something.
Yeti at this point.
It's basically a Yeti. When he came up, I was like, oh man, it's over for Luke.
I watched the Disney Plus version recently because my DVDs are buried in storage, and I have the DVDs of the first time George Lucas edited the entire trilogy.
Yes.
But the first time I saw that, it was shot and edited like a horror film in the
Yeah.
beginning. Like the entire time Luke is trying to get his lightsaber,
And this
it's
thing
being
is
intercut with like this snowman approaching. You don't
They're
get to see a
walking.
ton of the snowman.
he's like eating. Oh god.
Yeah.
I think he was eating the other top.
That's because I was
Yeah.
saying, where'd the Tonta go? And he's like, oh, he brought
It
him
was
with
food.
him.
Honestly, you eat the big chicken before you start going down to like
That's
the
true.
chicks. The
I do
chicks
save
are
the skin
like
for
you don't
later.
want to. Luke does not have a lot of meat on his bones in comparison to that.
He was
other
letting him cure.
Right?
Yeah.
The first time I saw that movie was when I was a kid, like probably 8.
Same. Yeah.
Okay. And I had no idea what was going on, but I was fascinated by the whole scene with like Luke trying to get away, and just all of the gore was fascinating to me. And I'm like, oh, is this what this is going to be about? Unfortunately, I didn't get to finish it at that time. So, and I was like, well, what happened? Like,
I need to know.
I need to know what the rest of this is like.
Then we cut someone open. We're literally inside their guts for warmth. And then, almost immediately upon them getting back, they're under siege.
Yeah.
And, like, the first movie was, like, just very, like, normal hero's journey, where this one is like, oh, you're on the run and people are going to be dying left and right, and, like, nothing's working the way that you want it to. We're not, like, being empowered through the characters. They're having a bad time the entire film.
I remember reading that Empire Strikes Back wasn't as loved when it came out. Like it's
Blasphemy.
yeah, like it when
We have critiques.
where like people were basically like, this is what's going on with the tone here, it's too dark, and then Return of the Jedi was supposed to be like a correction from that.
Trilogies really were not a big thing before Star Wars, period.
Yeah.
You really weren't making more than a sequel, and usually a sequel was a cash grab.
Yeah.
Even though people kind of hated it in the beginning, I feel like now it's like viewed as like one of the most beloved films, period.
Absolutely. And that's what makes me laugh too, is like when we do a callback to a lot of the scenes that were happening in episode 5, it's a pop culture staple at this point. Like, have you heard of oh my gosh, you know what I'm talking about. Seagulls.
It's the bad lip syncing. Bad lip sync. Yeah.
The scene, they're like the entire scene where Luke is training in the swamp with Yoda was turned into a bad lip syncing song.
Yes.
And called Seagulls, and it's hilarious. But if you know, a side-by-side comparison, the gravity of that situation is negated by the lip syncing that's happening. And a lot of people might not have known where that came from if they weren't introduced to Star Wars or didn't have like a base knowledge of Star Wars ahead of time.
There's been so many other storytelling elements that have like really taken from not just Star Wars, but like specifically this episode, that you can kind of see the resemblance. And you had a really good point before the pod in the pre-show about one that a lot of our listeners are going to be able to call out and see those similarities. Mind telling us about that?
Sure thing. So, calling back to Luke going to the Dagobah system to train with Yoda. If you guys are familiar, there is a show called Avatar: The Last Airbender. Luke is learning how to connect with the Force, and he has a vision, essentially, that Yoda says is the vision of the future, where he's seeing the city in the sky. And he's seeing that his friends are going to be in danger, and he wants to go help them. which means he has to end his Jedi training that Ben Kenobi worked so very hard to get him into to begin with and convince Yoda that he was qualified to do.
You say that like he was trying to get him into a private school.
It's essentially what was happening. You must enter Jedi Academy now, Luke.
This is
a recommendation. You need to take it.
It's either this or we have to move to the suburbs because there's not a good school district in the city, Luke.
And so Luke is preparing to get in his X-Wing and fly off to go help his friends. But Yoda and Obi-Wan are trying to convince him to stay and say, you're not trained well enough yet. If you go now, you'll never become a fully realized Jedi and you can't use the full extent of your powers. Which is very similar to when Aang was talking with Guru Patik about entering the Avatar state. And he chose to go save his friends, just as Luke did.
I will point out that this gets undone by a Mary Sue, where he gets his back cracked, which, as someone who now has back pain, I so desire. I want that to happen to me.
Chiropractors for the win. Acupuncture for the win.
It brings in the point, if Luke needed to get better at the Force, he should have just gone to a massage parlor, but that
We have
is...
a Wookiee,
he chose a swamp with a little green dude. I would be remiss, because I don't know how often we're going to talk about Star Wars on this pod, if we didn't talk about Yoda being the inspiration for my favorite dumb fucking fan theory.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
God.
Oh, goodness.
Darth Jar Jar Binks.
Oh
my
You're
God.
one of those.
Oh, it's... I don't know how much validity it has. I will say I think it's the funniest thing in the world. Just the idea that if we wanted Star Wars to rhyme, as George Lucas always insists, we would have the Sith Master be a goofy little dude that starts out annoying but turns out to be an absolute menace by the time he gets revealed. So I have always been slightly partial to the fact that the second true Sith was always supposed to be Jar Jar Binks, and that he was pulling Palpatine strings originally.
Well, I love Plagueis, so I don't want him out of here.
Lisa, come from the Jar Jar.
We haven't even really touched on Han and Leia's situation throughout the entire film, and I will say, I went into this movie because anytime you're trying to do a media reading or anything, you should be viewing it with okay, I want to look at it through a lens, and I was thinking to myself, I want to focus on Leia's character. Everyone always touts Leia and Han's relationship. How do we all feel? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
I hate it.
Okay, we're all on the same page. So this is the part where the internet's going to be very upset.
Well,
everyone always told me just oh, Leia and Han are so romantic together. They're so cute. And the entire time I'm watching, I'm just this man is sexually harassing her. And the other half of the time, when he's not sexually harassing her, he's just harassing her.
that's bad.
Boys will be boys, man.
Gross. Gross. The only moment where I was okay, maybe there's something semi-cute going on is maybe the first scene where it happens.
Yeah.
Where I'm oh, okay.
They're poking fun.
Yeah, he's poking fun at oh, I see that you obviously have a thing for me. And she's very much oh, no, I don't. And then I'm okay, that direction's fine. And then the direction for the rest of the movie
just keeps pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And she's just getting angrier and angrier. She's no, we have a mission. We're trying to do things here.
It doesn't even seem like it's necessarily about, it doesn't seem like she's annoyed about the mission. It seems like she's annoyed about, just getting touched at some point.
Oh, yeah.
It all went downhill after the exchange where she goes I'd rather kiss Wookiee, and he goes I can arrange that, and runs off. Just downhill from there.
That was the old, literally at that point, I was okay, we're having fun. Maybe this is some flirting stuff in an early couple. And then as it escalates, I'm just dude, at some point you gotta take no for an answer. And I understand that things are different since the 80s. But they're not that different.
No, I immediately think of the scene inside the Millennium Falcon. And it's getting jostled around and she falls into his lap. And he's distracted by kind of looking around. And she's very uncomfortable. And she's let go of me. Kind of get off me. And he's what did he say? He said something along
He's
the
like,
lines of,
"Don't get so excited.
"Don't get so
princess."
excited, princess." And she said something like,
It would take a lot more
"It'll
than
take
that.
a lot
You're
more of
laughing.
that." And he was like, "Well, that's all I have time for."
Yeah.
And leaves, and I'm like,
I mean,
"Sir,
That
Back-
was sexual harassment.
Sorry.
I'm
Yeah.
fully on
and
that
back
was-
like
what the?"
being a early 80s 90s person, that was kind of the vibe. I'm not saying it was good.
Yeah.
The argument that, oh well, it was a thing of its time, it's kind of a lame argument. Like we can look back at these things and go like, I still enjoy this movie, but I'm aware that this is not okay. This only works in the movies. Don't ever do this in real life.
There's this entire idea of when what we show people, and this specifically has a lot more to do with any media that a younger impressionable person, let's say a teenager or child, may be watching, that they're not going to be really good at figuring out what is good or bad in that unless explicitly stated.
Yeah.
Now, this is not to say that every piece of media should be hitting you over the head with this is a bad thing, but it is to say that when media is using certain things, if the subtext of it is that this is totally okay and acceptable, someone that's really young might go, this is totally okay and acceptable.
I think it's good that we look back and go, hey, no, that's not
Yeah.
cool anymore. I was like, we get it. It's there. It's part of our childhood. But there's a lot of parts of our childhood that probably wasn't good. We should always keep in mind of what we're watching is fantasy. Even when it comes
Yeah.
to pornography. If you engage in pornography, then understand that you're looking at a fantasy.
Razor
Gripping up your
swords.
coworker and saying you like a scoundrel probably is not going to go well either.
No, it's going to be you're going to go to HR or just not work there anymore very quickly.
Straight to jail.
And probably get hit in the face.
Yeah.
You're opening up a door for violence if you're an asshole, which is what Han is throughout this entire
Right.
thing.
George Lucas isn't good at writing for women.
No.
Like
No.
writing women lines.
No.
We talked about it a little bit. I think in the original trilogy, the speaking roles for women was Aunt Beru, Mom Mothma, Leia, obviously, an uncredited person.
But she nailed her line.
Yeah, she nailed the line in the article. It said, and I think that's it.
Yep, an unnamed rebel functionary, a female character speaking a role at the Hoth base.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was it. And it's kind of weird. And the lines are really, the way George Lucas writes women, it's very strange. Because, like, Anakin and Padme were, like, the first, I can fix them. And that's kind of weird because Padme is a very intelligent, beautiful woman that would have saw Anakin's temper tantrums goes, I can do better. And same with Leia. Like, in Empire Strikes Back, Han was very aggressive to the Beagles, you know. Like,
Yep.
But
100%.
but he's rewarded for it later when he connects the Millennium Falcon to one of the Star Destroyers to wait till it ejects. When they throw out the junk, he's like, sometimes you have great ideas, and she kisses him on the cheek, and then the obvious line, "I love you and I know."
I actually don't think I love you, I know is like a egregious thing.
I love that line.
Yeah,
but he's still rewarded for being
still-
an asshole.
Yeah, 100%. Like, circling back to, like, when there is something in media that you should be saying, oh, well, obviously it's problematic. It's not obviously problematic unless the subtext and text actually acknowledges that it's problematic. So, like, a really great example for this is BoJack Horseman. So BoJack Horseman is a animated show about a cartoon horse, but everything that character does wrong is implicitly and explicitly shown to be a problem. Everything that he does that affects other people negatively is you get to really sit with how that was a bad thing. So, like, we don't get to sit with the fact that Leia's being pursued, and then hypothetically, if we're looking at this relationship as if it was real and this really happened, we would be like, she was pressured into that relationship if she
Yes.
eventually came to that conclusion.
Yeah. Essentially.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it the most problematic, is that it doesn't seem as if Leia had much agency in how the relationship developed. It's more so Han's constant pursuit of her, as well as even him implying things that haven't explicitly been expressed.
Yes, and it would be one thing if we were actually exploring Leia's feelings throughout this. Like, if we actually were seeing that Leia was legitimately playing coy with him, or was legitimately having trouble expressing these feelings or acknowledging these feelings, that would be a completely different storyline.
Yeah.
But that's not what we got. And, like, we're not really sitting with Leia's thought process on this at all.
No, we don't get her perspective at all. We see that one scene in the Hoth base. I guess Han is indicating that he's going to be leaving, and there's that whole exchange where she's overhearing it, and he knows she's overhearing it. So you see her kind of making glances to kind of hear what he's saying, and he comes over and kind of says, "Okay, well that's it then." And he wants a reaction from her.
Yeah.
He wants her to show that she's upset that he's leaving, that he'll be missed. And when she doesn't give him that, he storms off like a child.
Wait a minute, we haven't even touched on some of the meta stuff going on behind the scene. Who was cheating on their wife during this?
I believe, I don't know if he was cheating on his wife, but I know he was having an affair with Carrie Fisher. She was 19, and he was in his 30s. And in her diary, she was saying basically that she was falling in love with him, and he's just like, yeah, getting laid.
Wait, was this, hold on, I'm back, I need to back up. Was this George Lucas or Harrison Ford?
Oh, Harrison
Ford.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
No,
I mean, it's still gross, because he was like 30 something.
he was in his 30s.
Almost
Don't
choked.
let this distract
Yeah.
you. That Star Wars is still great, but there's
Thank
just
you.
some things you have to sort through.
Carrie Fisher, unfortunately, and we're gonna have to talk about this more next time, she probably got the worst lot out of being in the cast, period.
Yeah.
And it really does stem from her being the youngest. People have talked about this franchise failing the Bechdel test plenty of times before, especially with the fact that there's only so many speaking roles. I'm saying this as someone with a degree in this. The Bechdel test is awful.
Please put the pitchforks down. This is an extremely nuanced take and refers to specifically film analysis. While the Bechdel test is great for analyzing how we discuss or feel about representation, it has glaring issues when being used to test for sexism, which is how most people use it. I recognize that the internet is not the place for nuance, but the Bechdel test is both part of academia and popular culture, and at this point, people deserve to know that there are less flawed tools for testing what the Bechdel test tries to test in popular culture, which is sexism. Please don't send death threats, and please don't use this argument for dude bro men's rights bullshit, okay? Cool. Back to the show.
First of all, it was created by a cartoonist who had no experience in media theory. She was just like, hey, isn't this weird that there's almost no women that talk to each other? And the Bechdel test is really good at testing the relationships between women in projects. It is not good at testing sexism, because what immediately happens is if you have a POV male character, it is going to break, because that male character is going to be in every scene. I'm going to use an example that's problematic for a different reason, but Silence of the Lambs is a feminist film. It is problematic for how it treats queer and trans people. However, Silence of the Lambs is ultimately about a woman existing in a space designed only for men. If you really want to give it a reading, it is a radical feminist film. There's only one other woman that talks to the main character, and they talk about a male sociology professor.
Yes.
So that scene does not have them ace it. However, the story is ultimately about how horrifying it is to be a woman in that space. So that's immediately disqualified. And then there's several movies that are about motherhood where they are the mother of a son. That is still ultimately a feminist movie, but because the way that screenwriting works, it's so economic that any piece of dialogue needs to move the story forward. You're going to be talking about that kid.
You have to.
Every scene. It's going to break the Bechdel test. Better tests include the sexy lamp test, which is just baseline how horrible this film is. Can the main female character be replaced by a sexy lamp? And does the story still work?
I've never heard this.
You've never heard of that one?
No.
It's the funniest one. Unfortunately, a lot of films from the era we're talking about do fail it miserably.
The thing is, like, I'm thinking of all the people in the background.
Yeah.
And I'm just seeing a bunch of sexy lamps.
That's
every so often.
Yeah.
These backgrounds.
And
It's
they're
really
just
bad.
moving.
So now the Mako Mori test, on the other hand, is Again, somewhat of a low bar, but it's required for the instances that we talked about earlier that may have not many female characters due to the nature of the story, or may have a character that is in every scene because they are a POV character that will wreck the Bechdel test. So, at least one female character. They have to have their own narrative arc. And then the third, and this is the most important, is their story and their narrative arc not about supporting a man's story? That's where it actually becomes a bigger deal. And this is where we can actually see a lot of more modern pieces of media that have tried to be like, oh, we're going to pass the Bechdel test by shoving two femme characters into a scene together, actually fail. Are their stories not about supporting a man?
Yeah.
So the question is Leia's story about supporting a man? Because if we're talking about the original trilogy, I think it passes.
I think so too, because when you think about Leia as a character, she's accomplished in many ways, and that was something that you and I were talking about off screen. Leia can do engineering. Leia is also a political leader. Leia is also a force wielder, but, you know, we get into that a little bit differently. But she's also a very capable member of the team. Every fight scene that they've had, she's able to wield a weapon, wield a gun, protect herself to the point where she doesn't need someone to constantly have her back. And she has the back of the other members of the team as well.
Yeah.
So she's a very critical member of the team. If you take her out, a lot of things don't work in the story.
Now, the question is, what is her narrative arc? But where does she start and where does she end? What are her goals throughout the story?
This is
The rebels.
if we're talking about
No, that's it.
The rebels.
I was gonna say if we're talking about just the movies, not very.
I mean,
impressive.
she's a
The
leader
only
of
reason
Rebel
it
Rebellion.
passes is because the bar is so low. In the movies, she's definitely a badass, and she's intelligent, capable. Her narrative is kind of things happen to her.
I'm going to say yes and no. So I think things happen to her to the same extent that things happen to Han, actually.
Yeah, I don't think they did supporting characters.
No, so I think that the supporting characters take a very passive role
Yeah.
compared to Luke. However, Leia does have a goal and accomplishes it in all three movies. The goal can be as simple as survive.
Yeah.
The goal,
Okay.
so a really important thing to keep in mind when it comes to like a narrative goal or narrative growth is how do things change for the character in the beginning that is something that they actually were seeking out to and maybe the byproduct. So I think for this movie, specifically episode 5, you could make an argument that it doesn't pass because at the end, her growth may have been falling in love with Han. However, that might only be one portion of growth because another thing that happens is that we also see her utilize the Force for the first time where she senses that Luke is around her.
And he needs help.
And the entire time, her entire thing is that she's trying to simply just save her and her friend's ass. And she, through working with those around her, creates the situation which the Death Star is destroyed.
Yep.
In the second film, she manages to be the one to ultimately get out of the situation and escape. So she fulfills the baseline of escaping. Her entire narrative wasn't necessarily about Han, however, Han's narrative definitely was about her.
Yeah.
And then in the third film, it's really kind of an echo of the first of she's the leader of this resistance. She's the most important person here, and she fulfills another instance where they destroy the Death Star, but also, in this instance, destroy the Empire. Luke's goal was just get his dad back. In the third film, in this film, it was save his friends, and in the first film, it was
Adventure.
he just wanted to leave.
I just want to leave.
Yeah, like he just kind of wanted to find out more about who he was and leave and join the fight, and that's what he did. And then Han's is like, honestly, Han is like the most nothing burger, actually, now that I think about it, because Han just kind of gets forced onto an adventure.
Yeah.
It feels
He
like
needed
comic
to
book
escape
most of
Jabba
the
in the
time.
beginning.
Yeah,
because
he
he
wanted-
owed debts. So
Yeah.
he's like, I'm just gonna get the heck out of Dodge. And, oh, I just so happen to have a person who needs a ride somewhere.
Yeah, it's
Cool. Oh, he's got this hot chick with him. cool,
Yeah, he just gets roped in. Han just gets roped into things the entire time.
essentially.
The thing with Han is he kind of cosplays as a scoundrel, but he has a heart of gold. It's that whole trope. They talk about it in the Solo films. Because he could have hightailed it in episode 1, but he saved Luke so Luke can make the Death Star shot.
Mm-hmm.
There was 2, and then he saves Luke for that second
on Hoth.
Yeah, from freezing. That's the 2 he owes him. Like, so he has like, he's like, well, my friend's out there, So he's a good friend to the hero. Because I feel like we've been crapping on Han a lot, which rightfully so. There's weird stuff going on, but I just wanted to. He's supposed to have a heart of gold in there, to the standard of that time. I just feel like maybe Lucas just doesn't write side characters well.
I'm actually with you because like Indiana Jones is a lot of the same stuff of like the side characters really don't do a ton, but I don't think he writes them poorly because we love all these characters
and they all play a role in the overall story.
I'm going to get crushed for this one. I don't like Chewie that much. Like, Chewie is every trigger in my life. It's a big thing that can rip me apart and yells all the time. I hate loud noises. But his story is just to protect Han. I love their relationship, and actually I am loosening up on Chewie a little bit these days. Chewie is very passive. Han is passive. You have to actually go into like comic books to really get to dig deep into their stuff.
And I personally see that as a byproduct of the fact that screenwriting as a craft is so much more economic than like writing a book, because you really, every page is a minute on screen. That is the rule that we go by when we're writing screenplays, and every minute of screen is sometimes tens of thousands of dollars. So that's the thing you got to remember is like, when it comes to, especially when it was film and not digital, every time that you add a page on, that is more budget that needs to be greenlit for a film.
Yeah.
So actually, I'm glad you said that, because this is a thing for whoever's watching. Stop saying the writing's bad when you're not a writer, because I'm not a writer nor a filmmaker, so that explanation makes a lot of sense now. But like,
you're like, why did they do this? Because it's expensive.
Yeah, like,
it's expensive to do.
So it's just one of the things with the fandoms too, that it's just like anything they don't like, it's bad writing. Even like with me, I'm saying is he bad at writing? So
no, he's not. He's doing the best that he can with the page length that is designated. And like, odds are, there was even more page length and shit got cut. Because there's so many deleted scenes that happen in these films. The entire first film was saved in the edit because it was poorly put together. Like, the entire original Star Wars didn't have a ticking time bomb at the end of the film. There was so much extra stuff with Luke on Tatooine before Ben even shows up, before the droids even showed up, that wasn't necessary to the story. You write these scripts, you get them greenlit, because the studio's like, I see potential for money in this. However, if that doesn't necessarily mean you're a good writer sometimes. That just means that you have a good idea. And then it's got to get fixed at every portion of the filmmaking process. There are so many reasons why like a storyline that we think may have been needed may have been cut. And like, even going back to the stuff with Leia, for all we know, there was a separate storyline explaining Leia's actions, and an executive said, this is making the film too long.
Yeah.
I don't care about her, which, could easily just sexism of the time spilling into the corporate side, and they could have cut that out. Now, I'm not saying that happened, because there's absolutely no proof to what I just said, but for all we know, that could have been a thing.
Now I want to read the novelizations.
The novelizations actually are really helpful for figuring that out, because there's no money attached to extra pages.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing if they tried at least, or wasn't there. Even if they tack it on, later.
Yeah.
In a newer edition, I'm fine with that. Because Leia is such a badass, and
she deserves better than to on camera be forced into a relationship with someone that she's on a sinking ship with.
Yeah.
guess like some of it is like
We found love in a dangerous place.
I'm
We fell
guessing
in love in a Waffle House during a hurricane.